Hey traders, Jason here from Lava Brothers. So in this video I'm going to talk about what I consider to be my perfect continuation patterns. If I can only trade one setup, this would be it. It would be this exact setup or some very, very close variation of it. Essentially what I'm looking for is, I'm going to draw right here, I'm looking for a solid move up. Okay, strong move, linear move, directional move, strong volume. I'm looking for the stock to fade backwards. I want volume to dry up. I want the stock to get quiet. Okay, during the move up over here, the stock is, I don't want to say noisy, but it's active. Okay, the bars are bigger, the range is bigger, volume is growing, the stock is very active. And then during the fade, I want the stock to quiet down. I want to quiet down, smaller candles, smaller ranges, lighter volume, and then I'm looking to play a continuation out of there. And as a bonus, if there's some moving average that comes in like this, that's even better. Okay, so I'm going to go through a bunch of examples. Again, if I could only trade one pattern, this would be it. Let's go through some examples. All right, here is Archer. Daily chart here, came out of a base here, terrible trend line there at 3.5. But check this out here. Okay, this is your linear move up. Okay, strong volume. The stock fades backwards. Notice volume here dries up some, goes from being huge, like 2 and 3 and 4 times average, back down to being average. The candles over here are smaller, okay, than they were over here, and then as you can see, the stock takes off. Okay, so we got up. We get in just basically an up, down, up movement, volume strong, volume weak, volume again strong. Candles over here are big, candles over here are starting to get small, and then the candles over here big again, okay? So stock comes out of a base, strong volume. I missed the first move. Most of the time I miss the first move because the stock's not even on my radar. Okay, but it's after the stock starts moving up that it starts showing up on some scans I do, and then I watch for it to fade backwards, preferably to a key level or moving average, and then I want to play it. And in this case, it faded backwards to a high. You can see there was a high over there, so that 4 is was a key level plus the 8 moving average coming in there. All right, let's go to another one. Here is ADOM. Okay, again, basing. Stock's not on my radar, but then we get this really strong directional move here, really strong volume. Volume is like 3, 4, 5 times what is average. Then the stock fades backwards quietly. Notice how volume completely dries up, and then we go again. Next one, Fastly. This one's a little bit disjointed. I don't know what the best word is. It's not the best traditional setup, but it's still there. If you ignore everything on the left side of the chart, it's still there. You have a strong directional move here. Volume very, very strong. First 2 days, you're talking like double the average. Then we get one that's a little bit strong, a little bit just better than average. Then we have 2 quiet days right here. Notice volume dries up, and then we get a continuation up. This gap here was earnings, I believe, so it's questionable whether that's playable or not. But the setup is still there. Like if earnings wasn't there, then the setup is still there. Okay, generally speaking, you got a strong linear move up. The stock fades backwards, quiet, volume dries up, and then it goes again. Next up, GT Goodyear. So right here, we get a strong linear move up. Volume is huge. Stock fades backwards. Notice how volume dries up. It trends down, and then we have numerous consecutive days where it's less than average, much less than average, and then it ramps up again. The stock usually is not on my radar for the first move, but once the first move is playing out after the first, say, day or two, it'll show up on some scans I do, and then I'll just watch it. I want it to quiet down, fade backwards to hopefully a key level or key moving average, and then I look to play the continuation out of that. Next up here, Joby, I have no idea how to pronounce it. So from a base here, you get a strong linear move up. You get 4 consecutive up days. Over here, the first 2 were on a little bit above average volume. Second 2, really, really strong volume. Stock fades backwards, lighter volume. Now this one, the fade wasn't that great because these candles were still pretty big. So you got to make a judgment call whether you still like it or not. I prefer smaller candles, but it faded backwards. Back to a key level, which was over here, 5.4, which was support over here and resistance over here. And then, as you can see, it continued up. Next up, this is NNE, one of the energy names that we've played. So let's look at this one. So this one doesn't, you can see what happened, but it doesn't matter what happened because the setup is still there. So over here we have the strong directional move. Here's a linear move with force, big candles, active stock, tons of volume over here. Then the stock fades backwards for 4 days, and you can see over here volume steadily declined. At first it was strong and it got less and less and less. And then we got 2 big up days over here on really strong volume. So that sequence of like up, down, up with volume being strong and then weaker and then strong is perfect. Now it turned out that this stock needed to, consolidate a little bit further, and there's a lot of overlapping candles here. And if you look out a couple months, the trade eventually worked out. But the fact that it didn't just go linear here, I mean, it happens. Not every time this sets up it's going to happen perfectly, okay? Sometimes you get this. Sometimes there needs to be additional consolidation before it moves up. Sometimes it's hard to hold because it's, because it's kind of grinding in place and there's a lot of overlap from day to day. But the setup is still there. You still get an up, down, up with, strong volume, fade on weak volume, quieter stock, and then continue on strong volume. The setup is still there. So as a just to kind of teach you here, it's a good example. Oklo worked out really well here. So first we get this isn't exactly a strong linear move because it's more quiet, and then we get this one big move here. Stock consolidates, but then we get this move here. Okay, we have 2 out of 3 days where the volume is more than double average. Then it fades backwards to the 21-day moving average. Notice volume here declines and is less than average. And then boom, it takes off. So it's really, that sequence of like strong move up, fade backwards, quieter stock, smaller candles, lighter volume, and then go. And if that happens at a key level, which it did here because that's both the 21 and it's the high from over here, that sequence is perfect. I'll trade that all day long. If I could only trade one setup, it would be this. All right, last one. SoundHound. This has been a good winner for us at Levitt Brothers. So over here, strong directional move, strong volume. Stock gap down, that was earnings, but once we get the gap down and the earnings out of the way, then the stock over here traded quietly, smaller candles, volume dried up over here, and then as you can see, it took off. Okay, then we had a linear move here, strong volume, stock faded backwards, volume declined as you can see here, and then it took off again. It happened over and over because you have the move up, fade, move up, fade, move up. And each time it moved up, volume was strong. Each time it faded, volume kind of dropped off here. Everything here, like every box was checked. There's not even that many boxes, but every box was checked here. All right, so that's all I got for you right now. I consider this to be like my perfect continuation move. If a stock comes out of a base with strong volume, then fades backwards, smaller candles, smaller volume, quieter stock. If it comes down to a key moving average or previous key level, that's even better. And then I'm looking to play that second move. This is how stocks come out of bases. You can also do this with them coming, continuation patterns where a stock may break out of a continuation pattern, fade a little bit, and then continue on. Okay, hope you got something out of this, and I'll see you next time.